everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Lockdown with Sean and Cam. As you know, we didn't do an episode last week just because of the 4th of July weekend, and just hope everybody had a great 4th of July. Everybody stayed safe. I know Karen and I, we live in California, so there's tons and tons of fires right now. So I just hope everybody stays safe and, does the right thing. Actually, this episode, we're going to be doing the NFC North and the NFC South. And it's both these divisions, they're pretty stacked at the top. When you get to the bottom, not so much with the Panthers and who would that be? The Lions, right, Cameron, probably. So for starters, we're going to do the NFC North. So I'm actually going to start with that one. So first off with the NFC North, it's a pretty stacked division from top to bottom, especially you have different strengths in different teams. You have the Packers, they have Aaron Rodgers, but their defense is also really good. And then you have, the Vikings, Kirk Cousins. Some say that he's not elite, but he'll put up elite numbers. Some say he doesn't win primetime games, but, he still wins games, which is at the end of the day what's most important. Then you have the Bears with that ridiculous defense, all the pieces on that defense. And we're actually going to have one of our buddies come on later on in the show, and he's going to speak more on them. And then you have the Lions, wild card team, just drafted the best cornerback arguably in the whole draft. And then you have Matthew Stafford. They didn't do anything with him. He's still under contract. He's still going to be the starting quarterback. And then you still have Matt Patricia as the head coach. And honestly, I don't know about you, Cameron. I just, I don't really trust him. So let's get into it. So first place, we have the who would have thought? The Green Bay Packers. Yes, Cameron does not agree with me with that, but I think that they're going to go possibly 13-3 or better. If you look at their schedule, it's a pretty easy schedule for them. They still have Aaron Rodgers. They get Christian Kirksey. I believe he came from the Browns in the free agency linebacker. He's pretty good, and still have Devontae Adams. Number one wide receiver. He's been battling some injuries with his foot, but considering this whole, quarantine thing like that, had a lot of time to rest and possibly, get healthy for the season. Aaron Rodgers, when Devontae Adams went down, he didn't have too many weapons, it seemed. But, he just created for other players on his teams. Yes, he had Aaron Jones, but guys like Lazard, you ever hear of that guy? No, I haven't. But, Aaron Rodgers turned him into something. He worked with what he didn't have. He had Jimmy Graham, I believe, but, he's in his down years, so couldn't really do much with that. So, just having Aaron Rodgers on your team, in my opinion, is probably not a Super Bowl contender all the time, but definitely a playoff team.
Yeah, I disagree with the record prediction about the Green Bay Packers, but from a roster standpoint, they have probably a top 10. It's just that their wide receiver core is, outside of Devontae Adams, is pretty poor, and the organization can really do much to address that in this year's free agency, both either signing free agents or drafting well. So I don't know what direction the front office, and if they retain their new coach in Matt LaFleur, I don't know what direction they're going to go, because they spent their high draft pick on Jordan Love.
Right. I'm pretty sure they traded up for him, didn't they?
Yeah, they sacrificed to go up for a quarterback. I know Aaron Rodgers is getting old. I know he's not in his prime years, but what he's at right now is still at a pretty high level.
Right.
Elite.
He's still Aaron Rodgers. there's maybe 3-4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. You need a touchdown. Aaron's your guy. He'll come
Yeah, I
down.
can
He'll
see.
be clutch about it. He's one of the most clutch quarterbacks I've seen.
Yeah, he makes the word clutch so consistent when you compare it to his name. No other quarterback, maybe Russell Wilson and Chiefs Patrick Mahomes, they're clutch as well. But Aaron Rodgers, he practically invented it with his early years after taking over for Brett Favre. So
Exactly.
I agree with you that if you have Aaron Rodgers on your team, you're guaranteed a successful season. But for me personally, I have them taking a back seat to Minnesota. Their defense, it's lethal still with with Za'Darius and Preston Smith anchoring that defense.
Well, they got Kevin King. They have Kevin King, Darnell Savage, Jaire Alexander. I think I said his name right. That's a solid backfield. And I believe they're going into their second or third year, respectively.
I think out of compared to last season, last season's 13-3, I believe was a fluke. I don't think they deserve that record. I think, and it showed pretty well against certain opponents. They got trashed and they were exposed. And Aaron Rodgers, he struggled under pressure a few times. He wasn't, the usual Aaron Rodgers of old. So I think this season is going to give a clear snapshot of what the pairing of Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur can do together. And if it becomes rocky, you might see an early sneak peek at Jordan Love and see if he's worth the high pick.
Right. So,
but for me,
I'm wondering if they think. I'm wondering if they think that Jordan Love is, the Brett Favre, that Aaron Rodgers was to Brett Favre. You know what I mean? Like they think they have that mojo, they can make that switch, and it's going to be the exact same. But I will say this: if somehow Aaron Rodgers leaves after this season, Jordan Love offensively doesn't, he gets a few pieces, but that defense it's stacked and it's still very young and they're still under contract. So if Jordan Love does take over, he's going to be going into a good situation.
Yeah. So overall, I have the Green Bay Packers losing more games this season at a disappointing 10-6.
I mean, that's not that disappointing. That gets you into the playoffs. I only have them winning 3 more games than that. 13-3.
I think it's disappointing for Aaron Rodgers.
Probably. And it really depends on how they lose those games. If they, when they lose, how are they losing those games? Are they blowouts, or are they going to be, close games where, somebody has to clutch it to win? Because I think those will be real deciding factors on – because if you think about it, at the end of the day, for the Packers, it's how does Aaron Rodgers feel? If he's mad and angry after a game, then that's not good, because most of the time he's going to blame the coach. And I don't see the coach going anywhere now. He's brand new. They like him a lot, and then they go Jordan Love. Maybe LaFleur wanted Jordan Love. You never know. But, I mean, if you look at their schedule, it's not that bad, really. I mean, the really tough games that they're going to have, they're going to go play the Niners in Santa Clara, and then they go play the Bucks in Tampa Bay, and then basically they just have their division. Those are really the only 2 tough games that I see on the schedule, and I only have them losing one of those 2. I'm not going to tell you which one though. But that's why I had them going 13-3, because the schedule it's pretty favorable for them this year.
Yeah, but I think for me, Aaron Rodgers' magic will run out, or he might I predict Aaron Rodgers missing some games due to injury. I can
Right.
see a defensive line or linebacker, taking a cheap shot at him, innocent or not, and he goes down, misses a few games. Jordan Love steps in. I can see that happening. But if there's a healthy Aaron Rodgers, I don't even think a healthy Aaron Rodgers can manage with the group he has more than 11 wins.
Which is still a successful season. So, you can't really be mad if you're a Packers fan.
It could get them into the playoffs, but it's not going to put them in a favorable position come
For
playoffs.
Sure. And then next team, I guess you would say that they're going to be in second place, is the Vikings. And I feel like the Vikings are good every single year.
Yeah, I think it's just the genius of Mike Zimmer, the consistency of both the overall defense and Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
People say he's more scrubby than elite, but I just see consistency.
Right.
Maybe not in the playoffs. He gets the job. His role perfectly well. Passing touchdowns. He gets himself healthy.
Right.
He manages himself healthy. So Minnesota, they have the formula for a Super Bowl team.
They lost. They lose Stephon Diggs, but honestly, it doesn't seem like they're losing, that much. They have Adam Thielen. They have Dalvin Cook. Those are some elite, playmakers on offense. And then not to mention they go out, they draft Justin Jefferson out of LSU. Yep. I think that's going to be their Stephon Diggs replacement. Probably won't take, the wide receiver 1 position. I believe that, that's Thielen's, even though he could kind of play slot more than outside. But Justin Jefferson is going to be a solid, number 2 or number 3 receiver. And then they still have Kyle Rudolph. I'm sure Saints fans know who that guy is. The push-off at the end of the game. They weren't too happy about that. They know exactly who that guy is. Then they got Irv Smith. I think he came from the Patriots, another tight end. So they have some pieces on offense. And then that defense, it seems like every single year it's just intact. They don't really lose anybody. I mean, they lost Linval Joseph. I believe they lost Everson Griffin, but they still have Danielle Hunter. They lost Xavier Rhodes, but he wasn't doing too well for them, and I think that's why they just let him walk. They re-signed Anthony Harris. Anthony Harris? Yeah. They re-signed him.
Yeah, frankly.
And then they still have Harrison Smith. So, you could argue they have at least a top 5, safety core in the league. And then they still have Eric Kendricks, great linebacker. So their defense it's good, They could win games with their defense, and sometimes that's what you have to do, especially in primetime games. If Cousins isn't doing too good, the Vikings can stay in a game, particularly because of that defense.
Yeah, I think it's like, pick your poison. You can either lose by Kirk Cousins passing to Adam Thielen. You can lose to Dalvin Cook running the ball down your throat, or make a mistake and their defense will capitalize on it. So
right,
top to bottom, the roster be good.
Yeah, it's a solid roster. And if you think about it, is it possible that Stephon Diggs could have been holding them back? Could he have been sort of, not a locker room cancer, but, a distraction? Because he's not getting his touches because Adam Thielen's getting more. You know what I mean? Something like that. And then they ship him off because, if you think about it, they weren't super, adamant on keeping him. It wasn't too long after he demanded a trade that he was shipped off. If you look at Jamal Adams, if you look at, Ngakoue, they are not on a team yet. I think that's because the team wants to keep them as much as they can. And now Jamal Adams, he's that one, generational talent type thing for safety, but he was also sort of a locker room cancer for them. But I guess he's so good that they don't want to, get rid of him unless they get a lot of compensation.
Yeah, I would say my personal philosophy when it comes to building a football roster that will compete for a championship, I will take chemistry and personality over talent any day, especially at the wide receiver position. You know, they're known for being divas. They're known for being entitled because it's a flashy position, and you have the likes of OBJ and Stephon. You know, they want their touches. They want to pat their stats, along with winning a championship, I'm sure. But I think the system, the coach in the system is worth more, valued more than any singular player. Maybe the quarterback is more important. It is more important, but outside of the quarterback position, any other position can be replaced. As long as I'd rather have a player who's not an all-pro but can help chemistry-wise with the team than someone who's, you know, a great statistician, you know, a statistician's dream, but is like cancer.
Exactly. They added, and I didn't even say they added 2 more pieces to that defense. They get Jeff Gladney out of TCU. He was probably top 5 cornerback in the draft. Steal, I think, because I think they got him in like the 2nd or 3rd round, if I remember correctly. And then they get Troy Dye out of Oregon. He was a solid linebacker. He was on some people's boards. Not really 1st round, 2nd round, but he could really be a steal in the draft. So all in all, every single year it seems like this team is solid, like across the board. And sometimes that's all you need. And when you have a solid team and then you have the chemistry to go along with that, then you can only, you know, go so far. And you look at their schedule, it seems like the AFC North schedules are a lot more favorable than they were last season. Because I have the Vikings going anywhere from 11-5, 12-4. The only really tough games I see them having are going to be when they play the Packers and the Bears, you know, that's within the division. And then when they play the Cowboys and the Saints, obviously, because the Saints are going to be a tough game. But other than that, it looks pretty favorable. And then they play the Seahawks, and that's going to be in Seattle. That might be also, you know, difficult with Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I agree with you. Minnesota Vikings, I have them winning the division at 11-5. It could be 12-4, but I'm just going to say 11-5 for now. Just say the losses that could happen against other great teams. But overall, Minnesota is a dangerous team, and I would not want to play them. They're out of maybe 3-4 teams in the whole league that I just don't want to see, especially if I have to go to them.
Yeah. I mean, like the weather conditions out there, it'd be getting cold. It's like same with Green Bay. And you know how they say trap games? I feel like teams look and they see that they're playing the Vikings, and it's not like a trap game, but I feel like they're not ready for what they're about to do. It's because Zimmer's so smart, especially the way he, you know, sets up his blitz and stuff. A coach can plan for something that Zimmer's about to do, you know, pressure-wise, like against the blitz and all that stuff. But I don't know how he does it. But every single game plan, he always gets to the quarterback at some way, you know, whether it be with, you know, Harrison Smith or Griffin. Not Griffin. Is it Griffin? No, Griffin's gone. Danielle Hunter. That's the guy coming off the edge. But Griffin was there last season, so I guess Griffin. But Eric Kendricks, like he gets to the quarterback, and I think that's where he really excels in that defense too, especially, you know, helping with the cornerbacks, because the cornerback play hasn't always been that great for them. But the safeties, getting to the quarterback, that's kind of where they really thrive.
Yeah. No rebuttal here. I just
So we just agreed, you know, solid team all around, and we could be talking next season, and they'll probably end up having another successful season.
Yeah, I think out of most teams, Minnesota is just a team you look at. It's like it's tough to find a weakness. It's tough to find the inaccuracies with them. There's no real drama outside of
Right.
Stephon Diggs. They're just a well put together organization. So
Yeah, some would say Kirk Cousins might be that weakness. And if Kirk Cousins is your weakness, then, do you really have a weakness? You know what? I think I know what their
yeah,
weakness
if
is.
you want, that's a good thing.
Yeah. You know what their weakness is, though? Monday Night Football. That's their weakness. That's their weakness. Kirk Cousins does not win Monday Night Football games.
Under the bright lights, all by
I
himself.
probably check that schedule. That's what we should do. We should check the schedule, make sure they don't have no Monday night games. You might have to chalk those up as losses. And then next up, let me see here. Next team we actually have one of, like I said in the beginning of the show, one of our buddies coming on. Been a diehard Bears fan his whole life, so he knows everything Bears. And I tell you what, I know because he has all the apps to look at all the stuff. Granted, I have all of it too for the Raiders, and I'm sure Cameron does for the Niners. We're just diehard fans and love our team. So we're gonna bring him on. He's gonna talk about the Bears for us and give us a breakdown. Here we go. Let's get him on here. Let's see, should be joining. Sure he is. Oh, there he is. Look at him. He's got his Bears hat on. Look in the back. I told you.
What's going on, guys?
We welcome in Keiota, Quinley, a.k.a. Bubba.
That's right. We're here to talk about Bears football, right?
We're here to talk about Bears football right now.
That's what I like to hear.
You're going to break down your team, your acquisitions, who you lost, how you think your season's going to go. So the floor is yours, my man.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for having me on. It's cool that you guys started your own little sports podcast. Following my footsteps, I guess. I don't know, but I'm excited to be on, though. It's a good listen. Good listen. Well,
thank you.
I'm going to go right to it. I think the Bears are going to go back to that 12-4 Bears team. And the reason why I say that is straight up. A lot of our defensive pieces that were either hurt or missing are going to be back. And now you're looking at a guy adding like Robert Quinn, right? Just for example.
Right.
He's not like Leonard Floyd. He's going to be able to get to the quarterback. That was the big problem, is that we lost Akeem Hicks. People were triple teaming Khalil Mack. But now you have a guy on the other end, and Robert Quinn, that can get to the quarterback. So I think we're going to have a little bit of success on the defensive end. Of course, we brought in Jalen Johnson, another cornerback, to pair with Kyle Fuller. That's also a big acquisition for us. And then we also got Deshaun Gibson from the Texans as well, to pair with Eddie Jackson. So now Eddie Jackson goes back to his normal position. So I think the defense is going to be
a beast.
Yeah.
And you still have Eddie Goldman. You still have Akeem Hicks.
Yeah, we still have all those guys in the fold. I was a little bit disappointed they let a couple of guys go that would have been good rotational pieces, because behind Roquan Smith and Danny Trevathan, we really have no backup middle linebackers. So that's a little bit scary if they go down. But I guess you can't complain with Roquan Smith and Danny Trevathan when they're healthy. They are definitely two solid middle linebackers that can definitely wreak havoc on an offense.
Definitely.
So, but other than that, honestly, I could see us going 12-4. They've been saying a lot of good things about Mr. Trubisky. I know that's everyone's question, like who's going to win the quarterback position, right?
Right.
I honestly think that if Mr. Trubisky comes back and learns how to read defenses, he's going to win the job. I think he's going to freaking take over. So
right.
I can see Mr. Trubisky as like a comeback player of the year type of guy. I hope he doesn't get distracted by that 10-year deal that Mahomes just got.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm praying for. Because
Right.
Mr. Trubisky's like really a lot like in the media. He likes to be focused on that sometimes. But he just needs to play football, play his game.
Well, even then, I saw this saying. It was the Bears, and then it was the Cowboys. And Bears go 8-8. Cowboys go 8-8. Dak Prescott wants 4-year ridiculous contract, and it's like, the Cowboys had a better roster than the Bears. You want to get rid of Trubisky, who didn't have the best roster, especially on offense. I mean, he has Allen Robinson, Montgomery. I mean, he didn't have a great season, but I'm sure he's due for a breakout season soon. But then you have Dak Prescott. I mean, you got Amari Cooper. You have that defense, Leighton Vander Esch, and then you go 8-8. Like that's just disappointing, and it's almost just unacceptable, especially with that roster. So, am I super high on Trubisky? Not really, but I think that he'll win the job over Nick Foles. Honestly, I think Nick Foles is just got lucky. I don't know. When he starts, he's not that great. You saw that when he was on the Jaguars. He got injured. I mean, we don't know what he would have done, but then he gets traded to the Bears. Honestly, I thought you guys were going to get Cam Newton.
That's what we thought too.
I was watching the draft, and you guys came up twice, and you didn't get Jalen Hurts.
I wanted
your fan base was so mad.
Yeah, we were pretty upset about that. And honestly, I've been telling my dad, I'm like, you know what? Hopefully Trubisky goes off, and then once we get to the playoffs, all right, Nick Foles, time for you to come in, baby. Time for you to shine. That's the plan.
That's so funny.
Trubisky, I think Trubisky's going to win the job. He's younger. They want him to win the job. Here's the thing. You bring in a guy like Cam Newton. Cam Newton's going to destroy Mr. Trubisky in a competition, right? They're trying to keep Trubisky's faith alive. They want him to be that guy. I feel like he could be that guy. There's a lot of Bears fans that are kind of already out on Trubisky. They're like, get rid of him. But I'm not that type of fan. I'm going to stick with them until the Bears get rid of him, so.
Right, exactly. And if that running game picks up, that's only going to be better for him because that play action is going to be open. And then you guys have you got Ted Ginn, didn't you?
Yeah, we added speed on the receiver end. I know we got rid of Gabriel, but we added Ted Ginn. And then another thing is, with Trey Burton being hurt, Mr. Trubisky loved Trey Burton. When he went out, Trubisky didn't have that safety blanket. So that's why he went out and got dinosaur, what is his name, Jimmy Graham.
Jimmy Graham.
And then
Dinosaur.
The dinosaur Jimmy Graham, he could still play. And then we got Cole Kmet from Notre Dame, which was we were super ecstatic about that. So, I think, of course I want the Bears to win, do well, but I have to be realistic. But I really think they can go 12-4. You look at basically like their first 6 games, I really think they can start out the season 6-0. And it's a favorable schedule because now when you don't really have a good year, you start to get that favorable schedule. You're not on that first place schedule anymore. So now you got some winnable games on there. So we open up with the Lions, right? In Detroit. It's a tough game always, it's a divisional opponent, but we've gone 4-0 against the Lions in the last 2 seasons. So it just shows, our record against them. We know how to play them. We know we can beat them.
Well, that, and I don't trust Matt Patricia at all.
Right.
I don't think he's a good coach.
It looks like a Teletubby to me, we want to be honest. Like,
yeah,
he's a respectful coach, like on the defensive end, but on the offensive end, Detroit always starts out well though, and then they kind of fade out.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning of the schedule, I only have you losing 1 game in the first 6 or 7, and that's to the Falcons. Just because I feel like some people are gonna take the Falcons for granted, and Matt Ryan is Matt Ryan. He could turn into Matty Ice any moment.
Right.
And, especially I know because I had him at my fantasy team one time and he was dropping 50 points for me. So, he's formidable. And then you got Julio Jones.
Right.
But at the same time, what I think of, especially at home for the Bears, and what people don't realize is how good that defensive line is. It doesn't matter, who your quarterback is. If Khalil Mack and then you get Robert Quinn coming after you, and I know especially because he was on the Raiders. I've seen it firsthand. You've seen it firsthand. We know what he can do. Right. Now you get Roquan Smith back healthy. You got Eddie Jackson. So usually teams that can't get to the quarterback, it's also due to their cornerback play.
Right.
And your guys' cornerback play is with Fuller and Eddie Jackson. It's solid.
Yeah. And
your defensive line. So you guys I think you'll have easily a top 10 defense because I have you guys going 10-6, 11-5. As much as it pains me to say, I don't like having Khalil Mack having a successful season, but It is what it is.
Right. And honestly, I don't really see us losing it until we get to week 8, Thursday Night Football against the Buccaneers. And the only reason why I say that, because, Tom Brady is the GOAT. We don't know how they're going to look yet. I think the only thing is that it is in Chicago. It is prime time. And if that defense is healthy, they're going to get after Tom Brady. He better get the ball out fast, or it's going to be a long night for Tom Brady. We may win that game 10-6.
I had you winning it. I had you winning that game just because of the defense, and I feel like you're going to get to Brady.
Right.
You know, because I think when they played the Dolphins last season, the Dolphins were getting to them like almost the whole game. So if they could do it, then I think you can. I mean, they got an offensive line. They try to get better, but it wasn't a good offensive line. They went out and they drafted an offensive lineman, but he's a rookie. So,
right.
I mean, Khalil Mack's going to eat that up.
Right, and it's like you can't triple team Khalil Mack now. Because if you triple team Khalil Mack, you give one-on-one with Robert Quinn, one-on-one with Akeem Hicks. So do you really want to do that? No. So you're got to tell that rookie, hey, good luck, bro. Good luck.
Bro,
you know,
you can't put him on an island.
That's the tough part. That's what teams have to prepare for now with this Bears defense. But here's the thing. Everyone knows the Bears defense is probably going to come back to life. It's all about what Mitch Trubisky does. If
Right.
Mitch Trubisky can have a good year, if Mitch Trubisky can manage the football game, we're not asking you to throw for 500 touchdowns like Mahomes. We're asking you to manage the football game. If you can manage the football game, get that run game going, the Bears are going back to the playoffs. That's just my personal opinion. I think if I was a fan of a different team, I would say the same thing. Right.
And I think you said you got Jimmy Graham, but you guys also got Cole Kmet.
Cole Kmet, yes.
Kmet, yeah. You drafted him. He was supposed to be good. I think he was out of Notre Dame, right?
Yes.
Your dad would know. Huge Notre Dame fan.
Yes. Notre Dame produces pretty good tight ends too. You know, if you want a tight end, you go to Notre Dame. And the cool thing about Cole Kmet is that he grew up a Bears fan. When he got drafted, his family was ecstatic. He was crying, and that's the type of players you want on your team, right? So we're just hoping that this works out because, like I said earlier, Mitch Trubisky needs that safety blanket. He needs that tight end just to dump down to. And even though people think Jimmy Graham's old, and I think he's old, I think we could have used our money elsewhere.
He's that red zone threat.
Right. But he's that good safety blanket. He's a big dude, big tight end that you can just throw up to and he's going to go get it. So.
Right. I mean, would you rather have Jimmy Graham or would you rather have Jason Witten? That's how I'm feeling right now.
Well, they're both dinosaurs, but
Exactly. I mean,
I'll take Jimmy Graham honestly because I feel like Jimmy Graham's been consistent. And the thing with him in Green Bay, a lot of people are like, oh, he has some down years. Green Bay doesn't really use their tight ends like Chicago does. In our system, in our scheme, we really depend on that tight end. So I want to see him in our system first before people kind of say that kind of stuff about Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And I do want to make a note, since Cameron isn't here, I know he's a Niners fan. The Niners made the Super Bowl by defense and running the football. That is what the Bears have been based on for years. So that's why I'm saying if we can get the run game going and play solid defense, we would probably mimic what the Niners did.
I could see it. I mean, any team, because you guys already have the defense,
right.
and you guys didn't suck for a long time. No offense, Cameron, I know too. To get that defense, you just built it, but you weren't in the top 5 draft every single year to build it. Niners were, but they were smart about it and they put together a great defense. And I mean, if you flipped it and you put Trubisky on the Niners and you put Garoppolo on the Bears, I mean, what do you think? It's possible that Trubisky does worse on the Niners than he would with the Bears.
I don't want Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't want him.
He's from Chicago, right?
I do know he's from Chicago, but I don't want him anymore. I used to want him, but after that performance in the Super Bowl, I don't want him. He showed me everything I needed to see.
You just said the same thing about Cole Kmet. You want a hometown boy who aspires to play for his home team. That's the kind of guy you want.
Hey, let me tell you something. Jimmy Garoppolo has shown everything, and I don't want him. He's a really nice guy, really cool guy. He plays his heart out, but I don't want him.
I have faith in G-String like you have your faith in Mitchell Trubisky.
You have faith in Jimmy G?
Yes.
That's good.
And I have faith in Derek Carr.
And I just read something today. It was like a huge buzz that Raheem Mostert wants out. which it's kind of a huge deal because he was the one that kind of stepped up, as that big time running back for the Niners, especially in crunch time. So I feel like the more running backs the Niners lose, that sucks for them. What was that?
Yeah, Shifty and Speedy, we might lose him. We already lost our cheetah. So right now we just have beat up old running backs. But I think more of the success for the running game goes maybe 60% Kyle Shanahan and his scheming than Raheem Mostert individual play. He just makes plays regardless. But the roster is similar to the Niners. And if Mitchell Trubisky can kick it into another gear and show, he's worth that high draft pick, I could see them making the playoffs and making a good push, especially if they get home field advantage. I wouldn't want to play Chicago in the snow with that defense and Khalil Mack just hungry to get to our quarterback. So it's possible.
And you got to think too, Bubba. If you go to the playoffs and you're not going to be playing against Nick Foles. There won't be a double doink.
And guess what? We don't have Cody Parkey. We don't have Cody Parkey anymore. That's what people seem to forget is that the year that Matt Nagy won Coach of the Year, that year that Mr. Trubisky had a good year, the year that our defense was arguably the best in the NFL, if Cody Parkey makes that kick, who knows what happens, right? Who knows? That's the thing that sucks about being a Bears fan. We're always on the wrong end of the things, and it sucks. But hey, that's why I'm just a fan.
I feel the same way. But how do you see your division playing out? Do you see a sweep on any team, or splitting it? How do you see it?
Honestly, like I said, the last two seasons we're 4-0 against the Vikings and 4-0 against the Lions. And I think the reason why we're 4-0 against the Vikings is because Homeboy is just not good. Homeboy
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins. How in the world did he get another extension? He's just not good. Like, he's decent at best.
I think specifically he's not good in prime time.
Yes.
On games that he has to share a schedule with everyone else, he knows he's comfortable.
Right, he's comfortable. But if I had to guess, there's this guy in Green Bay named Aaron Rodgers that has gone 18-5 and 23 starts against Chicago. We cannot figure out how to sweep them. You guys saw it firsthand. Week 1, we're up 20-0. He comes back on one leg and beats us. How in the world does that happen?
I remember
one leg.
I think we watched that game
We were yeah.
He was on one leg.
We were watching the game, and the Bears were just destroying the Packers. And so I'm like, Cameron, because I think we wanted to get some food or something. We go to the store. I'm checking the score. We're coming back. I'm like, what the heck? It's like 20-26. They came back. Go back home. And we see Aaron Rodgers just put on a clinic.
You know what's funny about that game is that when he was leaving the stadium, you should have seen the Packers fans. They're like, oh, our season is over. You see Aaron Rodgers' face. They zoom in on his face, and he's just looking at the scoreboard with this glare. I'm like, he's coming back. And then here he comes like the Karate Kid, when the Karate Kid comes back out of the treatment. And this fool comes back on the Bears, And it's always been like that. Ever since I've been a Bears fan, I had to grow up watching Aaron Rodgers come back on us. It's just natural. I think we split with the Packers. I think they beat us week 12, but I think we beat them week 17. And I think that week 17 game is going to be it for the division, personally.
I could definitely see that.
And it's going to be in Chicago. It's going to be a chance for not only the Bears to get back to the playoffs, but for Mitchell Trubisky to put his stamp, like, okay, I'm here to stay, hopefully,
Well, even, too, if you think about it, it's 7 teams now. So you have a lot higher chance of going. So
yeah, I hope. But, there's still one thing. Eddie Pinero, our field goal kicker, you better make that 43-yarder when it comes up. If it's a 43-yarder for the game winner, you better make it, or else, you know what? I don't know what we're going to do.
He came from the Raiders.
Exactly. We gave you guys a 7th-round pick for him. All our picks have gone, honestly, to the Raiders and to the Niners. That year we traded up for Mitchell Trubisky, we gave, a stupid amount of picks to the Niners.
Hey, our teams are respectfully – we're on the come-up, so.
You guys are just trying to take all the Bears draft picks, right?
Okay, you guys won that trade anyways.
I don't know. The Raiders did beat us, and they had a great game plan when Khalil Mack did in London. It would have been nice to see him play in Oakland, though. I was a little upset when it was in London.
Oh, yeah. I would have liked to see that.
I would have
Especially
went to that
'cause
game.
a lot of fans, like even Raiders fans, I mean, we were mad that he left, but I mean, I still like him. I still think he's gonna be a Raider to me again before he retires.
Right.
I think he's gonna come back, on his last maybe 2-3 years. I don't think he's gonna be a Bear for the rest of, his career.
Well, that's a long time. He still has 5 more years on his
Yeah,
contract.
how long did he got that Patrick Mahomes contract signed?
We gave him a 20-year, $600 million deal, to become a dinosaur with the Bears, So.
Yeah, but I mean, watching that game, they game planned. I wish they game planned that way to freaking Frank Clark on the Chiefs and stuff. But I mean, what they did to Khalil Mack in London was phenomenal.
And the crazy thing about that game is that we were sitting there, my dad and I, and the Raiders were giving us the business. I was like, everyone was shocked. No one expected the Raiders to do that. And then we started to slowly come back and had the chance to win the game. But that was a game
Right.
Chase Daniels was in. I would love to see that game with Mitch Trubisky in the game.
Right. When we fumbled that 20 yards behind us, that's when I said, no, we're gonna lose. But Josh Jacobs went off that game.
Yes, he did. He did. And that was the game that Akeem Hicks got hurt. And that was the game that the Bears defense changed. I'm telling you guys, Akeem Hicks is a huge part of Khalil Mack's success and Robert Quinn's success, hopefully. So as
the
long
fastest
as
way to the quarterback is straight.
Right. So Sean, you shared your opinions on the Bears and what their record's gonna be. I didn't hear Cameron's take on his record for the Bears. He's being kind of quiet over there. I was just curious.
Oh, mine?
Here we go.
For the Chicago Bears, I have them improving on their record compared to last season. I'm giving them one more win at a total of 9.
What's your reasoning for that?
The biggest question of the season, will Nick Foles just serve as just a backup or actually going to take over for the team from Mitch Trubisky? Faith can be a great thing for a player, and keeping him in the game throughout the season, even if it's poor, he has a poor performance week to week, it could take a toll on a player, especially like Mitch, along with the surrounding buzz of people telling him you're not good enough, we shouldn't have picked you. I can imagine the stress that he's going through. And now in free agency, instead of supplementing him with weapons, you pick up a possible replacement. That's just the biggest question mark of the season. And the only thing that I don't doubt about the Chicago Bears when I look at the team, despite the defense, because it's just always been there, is Matt Nagy and his genius. He can create schemes, he can create plays even for Mitch Trubisky, despite his misfortunes throughout his time in Chicago. But ultimately, I just see them lose close games against division opponents. And I feel like even if Nick Foles comes in too, learning a new system with Matt Nagy, he might lose some games. So it's a border between 9 and 10 wins. It just all depends on the quarterback play. Because everyone else, I think they're pretty reliable and dependable. I could see the defense being top 5, maybe top 7 in the league. So, but a defense is not just the only thing. So it's mostly quarterback play. So I'm still on the jury about Mitch Trubisky, but I could see them not, having a very terrible season or reverting. So 9-7, good 9-7.
Okay, I can respect that, and I just want to let you inform you guys that the reason why we did pick up Nick Foles because he does know Matt Nagy's offense. He's played with Matt Nagy before. He's played with some of the coaches that we picked up, so he's familiar with the system.
He played for the Chiefs, didn't he?
Yes, he's played with the Chiefs.
That's
He
where
played with the
Nagy
Eagles.
came from.
Eagles have the same system as the Bears. The Chiefs have the same system as the Bears. Andy Reid has all these different coaches that came from under him. I think it was a plan. They knew what they wanted. The Bears know what they're doing. I don't think we would just pick up some random guy that doesn't know the system. Chase Daniels knew the system. That's why he was our backup for so long. He just wasn't good enough to beat out Mitch Trubisky. Nick Foles is good enough to beat out Mitch Trubisky. It's a challenge. It is a challenge. And Nick Foles probably knows the offense better than Mitch Trubisky. And that is the key. That's what I'm saying. If Mitch Trubisky can beat out Nick Foles, that is a huge step for Mitch right there because he's never really had any competition.
Right. Aside from the GOAT, Josh McCown, right?
Josh McCown, that's like a Bears legend right there. I'm happy that you know that, Sean. Josh McCown, yeah, we love that guy.
He was a Raider too. He was probably a Niner. He's on so many teams.
He's been on every single team, like literally, like.
Yeah, I'm curious to ask you: do you think that this whole pandemic, this whole quarantine, is gonna impact your season at all?
Absolutely. They're already saying that the players can't trade jerseys after the games, and the players are already throwing a fuss. You're like, oh, so you're gonna allow us to tackle each other for 60 minutes, but we can't trade jerseys after the game. I really don't think the NFL is really thinking about it. Like, so let's say you have 6 receivers on your team, right? And let's say 5 of them get COVID. What are you gonna do from there? You're gonna have 1 receiver?
You gotta pick up from your practice squad.
Let's say you have 2 quarterbacks, and both of them get COVID.
There's only one option. You sign Josh McCown.
No, you sign Colin Kaepernick. It's about time for him to get back in there.
No.
But yeah, it's just I really think it's going to affect it. And it's sad to see because I know football is going to be the one thing that's going to make everyone feel better.
Right.
That's the one thing that people are like, oh, we finally get football. We finally get sports. And football is like everyone's favorite sport. Everyone likes football.
Right. And you think of it, if there's no fans, like us 3 here, the Bears, the Raiders, the Niners, the fans, I'm not going to say they make us, like they make our team, but they're a huge part of, when we play, especially because when we come out, we show out. So if there's no fans, I'm wondering if that impacts a game at all. You know what I mean? Because if you're down in a game and it's a home game, your fans can get you back into it.
That 49er faithful, can you imagine the Niners playing without their faithful? Like that's the first thing I thought about as the Niners and Raiders fans. Like you guys have some of the best fan bases, some of the most annoying fan bases at that. They're there. They're down for their teams.
Bang, bang, Niner name.
Right. Bang, bang, Niner name. That stupid slogan.
I'm kidding.
I'm not kidding. But no, I have nothing.
It's all love.
It's all love. I just like to talk mess. Even after the Raiders beat the Bears, I was still talking mess. I was, I didn't care. It is what it is.
I remember watching the Super Bowl, right? And I text Cameron. It's after Mahomes throws an interception. I text him. I say, congrats.
Right,
I think maybe 30 minutes later, I said, sorry.
Oh, man.
I've seen it firsthand. We were up on the Chiefs, and then he goes and drops 4 touchdowns on us in the first to second quarter.
Yeah.
Hey, and all I'm saying is that Shanahan has done it twice now. Think about it.
He has.
But I'm sorry, Cameron. That's all I wanted to say about it. But he's done it twice.
Yeah, it's a shame, but I think he's playing with 2 chips on his shoulder. So
right.
We'll just see how he responds.
Even though he did that, he's one of the best coaches in the NFL right now. Absolutely. And he's young. Like, it pains me that he's on the Niners. I wish he was on the Raiders, just like I wish Sean McVay or Andy Reid was on the Raiders, but I'm cool with Gruden, I guess.
10-year deal. He got that Mahomes deal before Mahomes
He got that Mahomes deal.
He got the Mahomes deal. It was so funny when that came out. Like, 10-year deal. I'm like, are you kidding me?
You know who that pissed off? Chris Jones. He looked at it and said, nah, I'm out. Trade me.
Right. Yeah. It was crazy. That deal is crazy. Good for Patrick Mahomes, though, being that young, and he's changed the NFL. Like, of course, people say, that could have been the Bears QB. I know. I hear it all the time. It could have been our QB. We know that.
Right.
Stop saying it.
What was worse, the Raiders drafting Jamarcus Russell or the Bears not drafting Patrick Mahomes?
Well, at least you guys got to see.
Russell.
I think the Raiders drafting Jamarcus Russell because who knows how Patrick Mahomes would have been with the Bears.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes sat for a year. Mitch Trubisky didn't.
Was Mahomes before you guys got Mac? When he got drafted, right?
No, I think that was – yes, it would have been before.
Okay, so your defense was good, but it wasn't, like elite to where it is now. So, yeah, who knows how – I mean, Mahomes went into a great situation.
Exactly. Andy Reid is like –
situation.
He probably eats a double cheeseburger before each game. He's just that dude, He's probably that masterful that he just relax, He's just a master.
Right. Before we let you go, I'm going to get two things from you. I want to get your predictions, like your breakdown, so 1 through 4 on your first, second, third, fourth place in your division. And then I want you to tell me about Nick Kwiatkowski and how he was for you guys.
Yeah. So you want the prediction first?
Yeah, give me the prediction first.
In fourth place, we got, can you guess? Can I get a drum roll?
Yes.
Thank you, Cameron. We got the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions. Who wouldn't put Detroit Lions at fourth? Did you put us fourth place, Cameron? Because if you put us fourth place, I'm going to be very upset.
No, I have the Detroit Lions at a 4-12 record.
Amen. I got them going 0-16. No, I'm just kidding. We got the Lions in fourth place. They just haven't figured it out. The Lions are that team that are going to come out hot. I would be amazed. Like, it wouldn't shock me if they beat the Bears week 1. That's just the type of team they are. They're probably going to beat the Bears week 1. People are like, oh, they're the real deal. And then they're going to lose 6 straight. That's who they are. In third place, I got the Vikings, honestly. I don't know why people are that high on the Vikings. I don't know what it is.
I think it's their chemistry.
I just don't think they're very that good. And this is coming from a guy that I get to watch them a lot. We play them 2 times a year. And it's like they're always first or second, but they can never beat us. It's like they can never beat us and they can barely beat the Packers. So it's like I don't understand how they're always at top of the division. So I got the Vikings going third. Third. In second place, I think this comes down to that Week 17 game, like I said, against the Bears and the Packers. And I think it's going to be Sunday Night Football. They're going to move that game. Week 17 Sunday Night Football. It's in Chicago.
Oof, it's gonna be
like
cold.
I said, I think Packers beat us Week 12. So I think the Packers come in, I think, with the 1-game lead over us. But for some reason, I think we beat the Packers and we take back the crown. And we probably have like the 3rd seed. I wouldn't say 1 or 2. There's a lot of good NFC teams. But I say we can be like the 3rd or 4th seed again, get a home game, and hopefully we can finally get over that hump and at least make it out of the wild card round and see if we can make some noise with that defense. So I have the Bears winning the division. I don't care what you guys think. That's my opinion. That's what I'm going with.
I had the Raiders going second in our division. Cameron had the Broncos. I think they're overhyped, but he thinks Drew Lock's going to be like MVP or something.
Whoa. Putting words in my mouth.
Drew Lock is swaggy. He's a swaggy white boy. Come on now.
He is a swaggy white boy, but I don't care.
So do you guys kind of like, are you guys taken back by my prediction, or can you see it happening?
I can see it happening. I don't know if you'll win the division. I think it depends on how, Aaron Rodgers does because, he's Aaron Rodgers. If you ask me, to bet it between Aaron Rodgers and, Trubisky, I would say Aaron Rodgers. If you said LaFleur or Nagy, I'd probably lean towards Nagy. And you guys have the better defense, but I still think the Packers' defense is still really good too.
Right.
And then that goes back to, Aaron Rodgers or Trubisky. So
except against the run.
Yeah. So I could definitely see you guys winning the division. I could see you winning the division. I have you, 10-6, 11-5. So it really depends on if you guys can split or if you can even sweep the Packers. Because I know you played the Packers hard. And I remember one time you told me this. It was a long time ago. I'll never forget what you said. You said you cannot beat the Packers with field goals. You have to score touchdowns. So if you guys put up touchdowns on the Packers, then I think you could definitely do it.
And then Cameron has us probably, 3rd place or what? Yeah.
Yeah, I have it at third. I just think you need more star pieces surrounding your quarterback and figuring out the quarterback situation. I predict Mitch Trubisky is going to keep his position because I don't think the front office will look good if they just switch to someone like Nick Foles. But surrounding Mitch with better pieces, both on the offensive line, and then just wide receivers too. Like who you have right now will suffice for the season. But against defenses like Minnesota and not so much Green Bay, but like Minnesota in your division, who you have to play twice, you need that dangerous wide receiver kind of caliber player. But yeah, I unfortunately have them at third place.
And I can respect that, but just remember what I said. When you're talking about the Bears, think about 4-0 against the Vikings and 4-0 against the Lions. Mitch Trubisky has not lost to the Lions. You heard it here first.
The first time for everything.
Heard it here first.
Maybe we'll have a bet, between who has the better season, the Niners or the Bears.
Want to put Mountain Dew on it?
That Super Bowl hangover is real. The Super Bowl hangover is real.
Well, people are
According to the
COVID.
statistics, yes.
I'll put some Mountain Dew on it. Actually, I want Leatherby's.
Leatherby's.
Put ice cream on it.
I'll get you some Baskin Robbins.
He'll get you that
Robbins.
Thrifties.
The Dollar Scoop Tuesday.
Yeah. I don't have that Haagen-Dazs money.
Dollar Scoop
Yeah,
Tuesday.
we'll start a group chat when this whole thing starts. But now tell me about Nick Kwiatkowski.
Nick Kwiatkowski. Or is it Kwiatkowski? I think we call him Nick Kwiatkowski.
It's Kwiatkowski, I guess.
Kwiatkowski, okay. Those are one of those guys that I was devastated that we let him go, but it was between him and Danny Trevathan. So we had to make a choice, and Nick Kwiatkowski wanted the money. So I don't think we had enough to pay him and Danny Trevathan.
Right.
I do feel like the Bears could have made it work, but hey, Nick Kwiatkowski is a baller. The one thing I want to see from him, though, and what I kind of want to learn, was it just the Bears system? Were you good because you had the pieces around you? I think the Raiders defense is pretty good. But when you have a guy like Khalil Mack, when you have a guy like Akeem Hicks in front of you, did that help you? So right. I want to see him in the Raiders system first, but I think it was a great signing by the Raiders. I think he's young. I think if you pair him with another good linebacker, I think you guys can.
You got Corey Littleton.
Right. So I think adding those two is great for your linebacking room. So he's a good guy.
In all my years of watching Raiders football, I've never seen us ever have good linebackers. So this is a first for me.
Right. So Nick Kwiatkowski, like I said, if he fits in that system, he'll do well. He'll do real well.
That's great. Thanks for talking about the Bears with us. We'll definitely have to bring you on another time. You're hilarious, too. We can tell you definitely have your own podcast.
I appreciate it. I love listening to you guys. Keep up the good work. You guys are a little bit more high-tech than me, with the Zoom calls. So I just be doing FaceTime calls, so a little bit more high-tech than I am. But, hey, maybe I can bring you guys onto my show one time. We could just talk all about sports and maybe the 10 reasons why Kanye shouldn't be the president of the United States. I know that's random, but that was a topic that was in my head. So.
Oh, sounds good. Just let us know.
All right. Much love to you guys. Hey, good luck.
Do you wanna say what your podcast is so everybody knows?
Yeah, all of our 10 subscribers. Write this down.
It's all right. I only have a little bit over 200, so I'm not. You guys will get there. My podcast is called KIEQ on the Mic. It's a podcast about anything and everything. I can do sports. I can do relationships. I kind of just leave it all over the place. But yeah, if you want to check it out, it's on Apple Podcasts. Just type in KIEQ on the Mic or go on YouTube, and you can also type in KIEQ on the Mic, and it'll be right there. There's a new episode airing tomorrow, so it's every Friday. So check it out, and yeah.
All right, great,
perfect. All right, thanks, Bubba. We'll talk
all right,
to you
thanks,
later.
guys. Hey, much love. See you guys later.
Yeah, I think the Bears can probably be a sneaky good team this year, especially with their defense and, with it being healthy.
Yeah, I think the defense will rise up to any challenge, no matter the quarterback. It's just the quarterback itself for the Chicago Bears. Where are they going to play throughout the season, and how will they play during the season? Despite Matt Nagy's genius and the way he puts up schemes, it won't overcome, who's going to be actually the play caller. And
Exactly. Let's move on. We got next the Lions. Now, I believe 2 episodes ago, I said that the Lions might be a sleeper team. Well, I came back to earth, and I said, who's their coach again? Oh, yeah, Matt Patricia. He is not a good coach, and I don't see them doing too good. They lose Darius Slay, but they make up for it by drafting Jeff Okudah out of Ohio State. People say the number 1 cornerback in the whole draft.
Yeah.
Still have Matthew Stafford as their quarterback. They didn't do anything. There was talks of trading him. There was talks of outright cutting him. But they said, you know what? We're just going to stick with him, see what happens. And, Matthew Stafford isn't a bad quarterback. He's just kind of injury prone.
Yeah, I think with Matthew Stafford, he's one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the league because of a division that he just can't figure out. And along with what you said with his injury history, he can put himself, no matter who his coach or offensive coordinator is, he can put himself in a great position to succeed throughout the season. And he has arguably one of the a great tandem in wide receivers in Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones.
He does. He has some good receivers.
No
Who's their
offense
running
to
back?
Johnson.
Johnson, yeah.
But they drafted DeAndre Swift. So
yeah.
That could
help
be
them out.
So outside of their defense, their offense looks pretty good, with tight end TJ Hawkinson. Their line could use some work. They got someone in free agency. I don't know how to pronounce his name. But he's at right tackle, and they gave him a lot of money for it. So he must be worth that contract. So the Detroit Lions, I could see them in a scenario if Matthew Stafford is healthy, beating out Chicago for 3rd place.
Hey, why wasn't you saying that when he was on the show? I'm bringing him back. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but in all reality, like Matthew Stafford, he's going to miss games because of injury, because of the offensive line and their incompetencies. But Detroit, it hasn't been working out for them, especially in the coach's position. Matt Patricia, he's a great coordinator, just not a great coach.
No.
Who wears a pencil on their ear? It's just he does. I don't
understand a lot of the stuff he does. I don't.
Yeah.
Especially with the reports coming out on how he would treat Darius Slay. It's kind of just like
I
you
don't
just
think
roll your eyes at it.
I don't think their culture. They haven't established a culture nor an identity, or just a fun environment that wants to thrive and compete for a championship. I see them like the NFC version of Cincinnati, where they know they can't do anything right now.
Right. So we'll check this out. First 4 games on their schedule: Bears, Packers, Cardinals, Saints.
0-4.
0-4. Then they go and play the Jaguars. They might win that game, but it's in Jacksonville, so you never know. Maybe Minshew has some magic for him. Falcons, they play. I had them winning it, but I could also see them losing it. Mm-hmm. We'll see how Okudah does against Julio Jones. But, I mean, here's easy games that they have on their schedule that they can probably pull out. The Texans, the Panthers, the Redskins, and the Jags, and that's it. The rest of them I don't see them winning, or I don't think it's gonna be an easy road for them, basically.
No gimme games besides Jackson.
Not at all.
So they have a tough road ahead, and it's just I don't see them it's not their time.
I see them losing 6 straight at the end of the season. Their last 6 games, all losses. I have them going 4-12.
I could see before that 6-game loss stretch that they fire Matt Patricia and go with offensive or defensive coordinator, whoever is better on their team to fill out for the season. But it's just that they're just a tragedy team that has great talent, especially at the quarterback position. I think Matthew Stafford should have won a chip with Megatron, but it's sad that Megatron retired. But Matthew Stafford, he's one of those unheralded quarterbacks that just doesn't get recognition because he's just in a godforsaken organization. So can't blame the dude.
So just to recap, I have Packers, Bears. No, I have Packers, Vikings, Bears, Lions. You have
Vikings, Green Bay Packers, Chicago Bears, and Detroit Lions.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think he's too happy with that.
Hey, we both put him in third.
I enjoyed that segment, though, a lot. So now we move on to the South. A lot of changes in the AFC South, mostly because of one named Tom Brady. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, like you said, the headline of this whole division is Tom Brady coming to Tampa Bay and bringing along his trusty sidekick out of retirement, Rob Gronkowski, which I don't
came from the WWE. He was in the WWE. Yeah. He had the, what was it called? The
24/7 championship.
24/7 championship. He had it, and he just said, "You know what? Let me go sign with the Bucks." This guy.
I would too. If I was in his position, he would. I don't see him being a difference maker in Bruce Arians' system. So in the division itself, you have New Orleans, you have Atlanta, Tampa Bay, and Carolina. Every team has their own superstar that they build around. With New Orleans, you have Drew Brees, elder statesman, but can still sling the ball consistently and, just as good as anyone.
You could change that now to Michael Thomas. I think that's going to be their more,
Michael Thomas / Alvin Kamara. He hasn't really produced much last season, but I still think he's a pretty good running back. In Atlanta, you have Julio Jones. He may be older now, but he's still a great receiver, if not top 5. And then with wide receiver number 2, Calvin Ridley, those two are dangerous together. So
Matt Ryan.
Yeah, Matty Ice.
I think Matt Ryan is still a very good quarterback.
Yeah. And then Tampa Bay, I don't think they're going to surround the franchise around Tom Brady, but I do know they're in a win now mode with the pieces they have, because now they understand that their defense is no joking matter, and they retained 3 of their defensive linemen and tackles with Shaq Barrett, Ndamukong Suh, Jason Pierre-Paul. They're old, but they're dangerous and lethal still. So they're another team that I just do not want to see in the playoffs. The only downside to Tampa Bay is that they don't have a lot of chemistry on the offensive side. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, the best duo of wide receivers in the NFL, they haven't established chemistry with Tom Brady, despite how great he is. I can see that there being a limited chemistry between them because of COVID and its impact on training camps.
Right.
So, and then you have Carolina. They lost Cam Newton. They brought in Teddy Bridgewater. He's proven, but not a superstar or elite.
Right.
But their elite player that Teddy Bridgewater gets to play with is Christian McCaffrey. Just dual weapon, both in the run and in the passing game.
Yeah,
So
they also got he's not elite. He's a formidable wide receiver one, but Robbie Anderson from the Jets, they got him too.
it was good to supplement Teddy Bridgewater with Christian and Robbie Anderson. But I think my doubts fall in when it comes to Carolina is their defense going to rebound after Luke Kuechly retires? And also, you have a new coach in Matt Rule, along with a new quarterback. So I think every team that has either a new coach, new quarterback, or both, they're going to struggle because chemistry is a majority kind of thing when it comes to successful building a roster.
Right.
So records-wise, I'm going to go from last to first. In last place, I have the Carolina Panthers going at a 5-11. I was going to say 4-12, but I just think Christian McCaffrey alone, even though he is not the quarterback, I think he can make enough clutch plays down the stretch of a lot of games and just, be the hero of the game. But I don't see them doing anything big this season.
Right. I had them going 3-13.
I can see that too. They're just a suffering team, left and right. Because
I mean, their schedule's sort of brutal. I mean,
who do they play?
Their first 4 games are the Raiders, the Bucks, the Chargers, and the Cardinals.
I can see them splitting.
You think so?
Are how many home games?
They have 2, one against the Raiders, one against the Cardinals.
Possible.
And then here's a stretch for them. They get the Vikings, the Broncos, the Packers, all 3-game stretch.
Yeah, but
and then they play the Chiefs in Kansas City, and then they go home to the Bucks. So it's not going to be fun.
I see a tough road ahead, even though that they did pick up a pretty decent amount of pieces, along with Robbie Anderson and Teddy Bridgewater. They were able to get Trey Boston at safety. So I think they retained K'Wan Short, even though he was injured.
Yeah, they still have Brian Burns.
Yeah, and then in their draft, they kind of addressed the needs that they had. So they brought in Derek Brown.
Out of Auburn.
Yeah, and then another defensive end, Yetur Gross-Matos. I don't know if I'm
Yetur Gross-Matos.
Yeah. So I think they addressed their situation for the future, but right now they're just trying to figure out what they can do with Teddy Bridgewater and then hope that Christian McCaffrey still wants to stay with them.
Right. Well, he has no choice. He has no choice. He signed a huge contract extension.
Oh,
So he's there to stay. The question also is, and I say this every episode, for a certain team that's not good, do they want Trevor Lawrence?
I could see them
want Trevor Lawrence.
I could see them, not tanking, but
I think Teddy Bridgewater would be a good bridge quarterback.
Yeah, he's a perfect backup quarterback, and he's a proven starter too. It's just that I don't think I would want to center my franchise around him in particular. But he's the best out of any all free agent quarterbacks. So.
Yeah. Well, Cam Newton wasn't a free agent at the time, so yeah. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So you have them going 5-11. I have them going 3-13. So just 2 games.
Yeah, I can imagine 3 also. So I wanted to be nice to Christian. I think he deserves a lot of.
You could take over a game, but you have to think too is now teams are just going to game plan for him and only him, really. So
I think you can game plan for him, but when it comes to the actual game, he'll break whoever's ankles. And mind you, this guy, his speed is like he's not known for his strength because in the combine he only put up I think 12 reps on the bench
I don't
press.
know. Have you seen him lately?
He's still ripped. But yeah, moving on from fourth to third, I have the Atlanta Falcons at a 500 record of 8-8.
See it?
Matt Ryan, I think he's past his glory years. And I think because of Kyle Shanahan, he got those glory years.
Whoa, hot take.
Yeah, I think after his MVP season, Kyle Shanahan leaves, he digresses. I see a strong correlation between those two. Free agency-wise, and they did pretty well. They got Dante Fowler, Todd Gurley, Hayden Hurst, pretty good tight end from Baltimore. So offensively, they look stacked because of Todd Gurley, but Todd Gurley is just injury prone.
Well, you would know. You play him twice a year.
Yeah, and he didn't really do much the past couple of seasons. So I don't think there's a lot that defenses should worry about in terms of their running game. Passing-wise, I could still see Matt Ryan putting up monstrous numbers because of Julio, Calvin, and now Hayden Hurst. So I can see them putting up a lot of points. But it's just, I think the past few seasons, it's just their defense that has been the weak point of their team. And I don't think that even with Dante Fowler and looking at their depth chart, it doesn't look like they have any true stars on their team.
Yeah.
They drafted, AJ Terrell, a cornerback.
Out of Clemson.
So that could help in the long game after he develops. But
yeah, because they lost Trufant.
Yeah, so it's going to be a struggling season. I could even see them swapping with Carolina, but
for 3-13, huh?
But I'm going to give the benefit of Todd Gurley being healthy throughout most of the season and helping them achieve certain wins or some wins. But Atlanta is just overall meh.
Well, it seems like Todd Gurley is really betting on himself. Because he got cut, didn't he? Or was he traded? Pretty sure he got cut by the Rams.
I think the Rams didn't want to pay him.
Yeah, I think they cut him, and Gurley I think he took like a 1-year deal. He's on that prove-it deal. I think I'm sure he still has a lot, left in the tank, but it's a matter of, do his knees have a lot left in the tank? If those knees don't got a lot left in the tank, then he does not. And he probably won't be in the NFL for much longer.
If he goes down, Atlanta, they're going to be exposed because now they just have to rely on the passing game, which they've done all these years with Julio and Matt. But now defenses know that they don't have to really focus on the
right. Yeah.
Next up, we have for second place. I think you and I are going to disagree, just like we did in the previous division. I have the New Orleans Saints regressing to 10-6.
Why do you say when you say regressing, it makes me think you're gonna say like 5 or 6 wins, and then you go and say 10-6.
Hey, losing 3 games, it means a lot seeding wise.
You're talking to a person who we lose all the time, so if you tell me.
Okay.
Then I'm going
for future
10-6.
reference, if I use the word regressing or anything similar, I will actually do a very dramatic record or whatever.
Team goes 14-2 next season. I see them regressing to 13-3.
13-3. No, but 10-6 for New Orleans. Drew Brees, he got a new toy with Emmanuel Sanders. Great wide receiver number 2. That could help bolster their offense, which really didn't have a problem to begin with. With tight end Jared Cook, oh man, he is just a beast of a tight end.
Yeah.
One of the more tight ends. I know he lit up our offense before we had to headhunt him and take him out of the game.
He was on the Raiders before he went to the Saints. I really wanted us to re-sign him, but I mean, Darren Waller's turned out to be just as good, if not better. So,
yeah, good gamble. During their free agency, outside of Emmanuel Sanders, they pick up Jameis Winston, who's
the 30 for 30.
Yeah, he's thrown more touchdown passes to New Orleans than his own team, I guess, which is good. But I don't think that's I don't see why they needed to pick him up. I'd rather take Taysom Hill, even though there's not a lot of film on him. But they also, speaking of Taysom Hill, he's just a Swiss Army knife who can be put anywhere on the offensive side of the ball. He can be a blocker for all we know, and be pretty decent at that.
Right.
So they have a pretty great team all around. Cameron Jordan at defensive end, Demario Davis, Marshawn Lattimore at quarterback, Marcus Williams at safety. They didn't have to do much in the draft besides pick up more protection for Drew Brees by picking up center Cesar Ruiz. So they didn't have to do much work in the free agency because they had a pretty intact team altogether. I could have seen them in the Super Bowl facing off against the Chiefs, but they just had to lose that heartbreaker to Minnesota.
They always lose to Minnesota. Always.
So,
I don't know why.
I don't know about Sean Payton and Drew Brees and their windows because they're getting up in age. So I think they need to win now. Yeah, so New Orleans at 10-6, and then finally winning the division is I have Tampa Bay at 11-5. Despite this being Tom Brady's first year with Bruce Arians, just imagine last season if Tom Brady was the quarterback and not Jameis Winston. They have a prime defense. They have the best wide receiver duo. Pretty good offensive line. They would have probably made a great playoff push, and I could see them making a playoff push right now. Maybe even a Super Bowl push, just because they're just on throughout. There's no positions that's really weak.
Right.
Brady, Tom Brady's getting old, and we're gonna see how well he can fare without the genius of Bill Belichick, because I'd rather take Bill over Bruce any day. But I think Tom Brady, he manages to put the team on his back. I don't think he's one of those system quarterbacks, and I think he wants to prove that to the world that he's just not a system quarterback, that it wasn't just Bill Belichick behind all these 6 Super Bowl rings. So
last person who switched teams like that, I believe it was Joe Montana when he went from the Niners to the Chiefs, and he took them to the AFC Championship. So we'll see, what Tom Brady can do. But they have Rob Gronkowski. They get Tristan Wirfs because that O-line was trash, so they went out and got Tristan Wirfs in the draft to help that. You got Godwin. You have Mike Evans. I think they still have O.J. Howard too. I think he wanted to trade though, so it's possible he won't be on the team.
Well, still, you have
yeah, and we didn't even talk about the defense yet. Devin White. I'm pretty sure. Who's that breakout? Who was the breakout person on the team? Was it Shaquille Barrett?
Yeah, Shaq Barrett,
Jason Pierre-Paul. They
have a good
stack. Vernon Hargraves.
They have a good strong safety in Antoine Winfield.
Yeah. Did he come from the Niners?
No.
I must be thinking of Bethea.
Yeah, Antoine Bethea.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I mean, they have a good roster. It's almost like they have a roster that of the Chargers. But I mean, I guess their quarterback situation is a lot better than the Chargers.
Yeah.
But I had them going 9-7, 10-6. That's kind of where I was at.
But second place in the division.
Yes, sir. But they'd still go to the playoffs which contradicts me saying, because a while ago I said they're not even going to go to the playoffs probably, because that division is really good. I still think that the Falcons still have a chance to bounce back, even though I know you think that Matt Ryan is trash because he doesn't have Kyle Shanahan now. Hottest take of the night.
Well, let's backpedal here. I didn't say he's trash. I just said he's an MVP. He was an MVP because of Kyle Shanahan. Without him, he's just a quarterback with great wide receivers.
So Tom Brady, how many touchdowns? How many interceptions? How many yards? What do you think?
Maybe it's just Tampa Bay, the landscape of the area that might create 30 for 30 kind of quarterbacks. But with Tom Brady there, with the weapons he has now compared to what he had in New England last season, I could see him throwing 30, 35 touchdowns to 8 interceptions.
I'll say 28 touchdowns and 6 interceptions.
Okay.
Because he's old. I think that's going to take a toll on him eventually. And some of the teams he plays has some good defensive linemen, so he's going to get sacked a lot, especially with the offensive line. Like, here's some teams that he plays with good, defensive line. The Chiefs, the Vikings, the Packers. I want to say the Raiders, but I'm not going to say the Raiders. They're kind of up and coming. The Saints. What else? And the Broncos. Those are some good defensive lines coming after him. And if that offensive line doesn't hold up, then it might be a long season for Brady. Especially because he's older now. He might be brittle. What's that called? Peanut brittle. You break it off like that. He might be peanut brittle now, One hit and he's going to be out for the season. You never know.
Tom Brady has a very quick release. He understands his situation as a quarterback compared to Fields. So I think he'll do pretty well in the schemes. I don't think he'll throw enough deep bombs to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin like Jameis Winston did. Right. But the intermediary with the tight end, I think he'll create some damage in the short passing game.
Just to recap, what's your final, layout?
First place, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Second place, New Orleans Saints. Third place, Atlanta Falcons. And last in their division, Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you really don't usually know what's going to happen with the division, but I think we could both agree that, the Panthers are going to be last. And it's between the Bucs and the Saints, in my opinion, with 1 and 2. And I think the Saints are going to take it, but we could agree to disagree, and that's totally fine. That's why we have this podcast. But anyways, that's the NFC North and South. We hope that you enjoyed our guest, Bubba, the diehard Bears fan. Hilarious guy. Make sure to go, subscribe to his podcast. He has a lot of good stuff on it. And just want to say thank you guys for watching, and we just hope you have a good weekend and join us next time. We're going to be breaking down the NFC West and East, and I'm sure Cameron's very excited about that because his Bang Bang Niner Gang is a part of that.
Bang Bang Niner Gang. Bang. It's okay. Super Bowl hangover. Let's talk about that next week.
Right. All right. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time, and have a good weekend. All right.